Hello everyone, welcome to Scorched Earth Toys at Anymoon.com's review of Bandai's High Metal R VF1D Valkyrie toy, released in April 2019 for the MSRP of 7,200 yen. The High Metal R line is a slight tweaking of the original High Metal line, which debuted in June 2010 and enjoyed 6 releases before going on hiatus in 2011, only to be reborn as High Metal R in September 2015. The VF1D is the 12th High Metal R VF1 release, so if you like the notion of a large catalog to choose from, Bandai has you covered. Since this is a Macross branded item, you'll probably need to shop for it at a specialty importer. For everything else, Big Bad Toy Store is where I shop. Like previous High Metal R toys, you get a free, amazing Tenjin print in the form of the box's cover. Inside the box, you'll find a clamshell that includes the VF1D as well as the following items. 2 sets of wings. One set is a single piece that looks like stubby wings specific for Batroid mode. The second set of wings can be used in all 3 modes. There are 3 display stand adapters, 3 landing gear, a pair of intake fan detail parts, a canopy for fighter and Garewalk modes, a Hikaru pilot figure in his civilian flight suit, a standing Minmay figure with her hair blowing in the breeze, 7 fixed pose hands, that's a pair of fists, a pair of gun gripping hands, an open left hand, a barrel holding left hand, and a Minmay holding left hand. There's a gun, an additional thicker gun grip for use with the fixed posed hands, a neck and chest cavity filler piece, and a second neck and chest cavity filler piece that includes the extended pilot and co-pilot seats as seen in the show. The glaring omission is the lack of a display stand, but those are dirt cheap to buy separately and currently up for pre-order at Big Bad Toy Store. Click the link in the comments below to head over and search for Tamashii Stage Act 5 to find the 2-pack. I love the VF1D paint scheme. I'm not thrilled with how Bandai handled the hatch behind the cockpit. When the VF1D is introduced in the first episode, it looks like this. You can see the hatch is better beige with an orange hump than all orange. Some might be tempted to think the 1D is just a VF1 with 2 seats in the cockpit and a different head, but there's a lot more to it than that, and Bandai deserves credit for making the changes to capture the nuances. Here's a standard VF1, and here is a VF1D. Note the much longer canopy and how the nose of the plane extends farther back. To make more room, the air brake behind the canopy is eliminated and the chest plate goes straight across the back rather than having a notch for the hatch. The hatch is now flat across the top. To compensate for the reduced real estate, the 1D has 2 parallel antennae rather than inline ones. All of these unique elements are captured by the High Metal R. As with every other High Metal R release, the 1D does look wide when viewed from above, but this line art is impossibly thin, and the benefit to the toy's wideness from above is an incredibly sleek profile. I've heard complaints that the nose is a little low, but at this scale, I'm impressed. Who is this toy competing against? Well, the Toonami 1100 toys were similarly priced but came with fast packs. Here's a quick comparison so you can judge how important fast packs are to you for a vehicle that was never shown having them. Toonami gave their VF1 mold a 1D paint scheme, head, and a different shaped canopy without going to the lengths that Bandai did. This toy comes packaged in Batroid mode, but I'm going to start in fighter mode because it's my channel and I'll do what I want. Fighter mode locks together really well. This toy handles nicely. The feet are metal. That's mostly all the metal you get in this toy, except for some hinges. So a little bit of heft. It feels solid. The legs peg into this back plate. The backpack pegs into the legs. The arms peg into the legs. Everything comes together really tightly. Now, you do get a lot of parts that go with fighter mode. I'm going to start with the gun here. In order to use the gun in fighter mode, you have to remove the handle from the gun, collapse it, and then we're going to, I'll show you here, we have the peg here that we disconnect, and you can see the peg from the leg that goes into the arms, and we can separate those arms and fish the gun in. Now this should be all very familiar to you. If you have an existing VF1 toy, I'm not going to be saying a whole lot of new things about the features here because this is just another VF1 toy, so to speak, in the High Metal R line. So there we go. Now the gun is in. This is what it looks like with the gun in position. Backpack, everything all nice and tight. So that's the gun on the toy. Now the good thing is you get a display stand adapter that works with a fighter mode that doesn't have fast packs, which has been kind of problematic for Bandai recently. So we can fish this through. Kind of get over the shoulders there. and it will peg in the back. And then, there we go. You have to grab a Tamashii Stage Act display stand, which again, you can buy separately. It's just gonna go on like so, and it will hold up your toy just fine. But if you don't have a Tamashii Stage Act display stand, which I will now just pop this free, you are gonna be using landing gear. I'll take the whole gun off. The landing gear on this toy have to be popped in as separate pieces. So I have to remove this here and plug this in. Same thing on the other side and then in the front. So you have separate pieces and separate covers for each of the landing gear. So that's going to be a bummer for some people. And as you handle this, the High Metal R toys do have removable nose cones, so you might inadvertently pop that off. Now, another feature we get are removable intake fan covers with swap out intake fan detail pieces. So there you go, that's that. No paint app in there to make it really pop out at you, but you know, maybe that's a little bit more realistic. So there you go, those are the intake fan covers or intake fan detail pieces in the toy, the landing gear on, and we also get a pilot figure. So here is the pilot figure. It is Hikaru in his flight suit. Looks good enough, especially at this scale. Oops, bumped off my landing gear. We just plop him in to position. There is a little slot in the bottom, a little peg in the chair. So you press down on him a little bit. He should sit in there nicely. Now this is obviously not a integrated canopy that opens up nicely. It's a pop-off part. We can pop that in. You do not get a co-pilot figure. There is no seated Minmay. There are no optional military pilots. All you get is that one pilot figure. So that's going to be a bummer for some people. High Metal R toys have a really nice gear walk mode. Everything holds together very securely. There's a nice transformation mechanism back here that lets the arms slide back and forth makes everything just go a little bit better. And then when they're in the front position, you can pivot this down to give the shoulders clearance for the wings. So that's all very nicely done for gear walk mode. The backpack kind of slides forward. It looks very nice. The feet are incredibly stiff out of the box, and I feel like one of mine moves further back than the other. So that can be a little difficult, especially the first few times you're posing the toy. Now you also do reveal the very small integrated hands. So what you might want to do, and we'll give you two options. You can take your gun from beneath the toy and you can put the handle in here and put the gun on, and it will all fit very securely and handle nicely. A better option though is to take the included fatter gun grip and one of the fixed posed hands that's meant for holding the gun, fish the grip inside the hand and fish the gun onto that, and then you can just unplug your existing hand and plug on your fixed posed hand, and that's great. Now it's a ball joint, but it's very secure. The gun is very secure on that grip, so those are all good things. Now on the other hand, we can go ahead and take our included Minmay figure, which looks very nicely done, and this fixed posed hand that is specific for holding Minmay. We can take this hand off the toy and put the other hand on and put Minmay in. And there you go. Now you have that iconic scene from the early episodes of Macross or Robotech where Minmay is being rescued by the trainer Valk. So that's all very cool. Now, on the bummer note, no seated Minmay figure. So if you wanted to have it from after she gets rescued, that's not going to happen. And no hard points on the wings. So even if you wanted to borrow missiles from one of your other High Metal R toys, you're not going to be able to install them. Now you may be thinking to yourself, hey, does Bandai really deserve that much credit? They just did a Super Ostrich. Didn't they really reuse most of the mold from the Super Ostrich? While the colors are clearly very similar, the molds actually are quite different. We have a more bulbous canopy here that leads to a more bulbous chest, and then you have the inline antennae in the hatch. So all of those parts are unique on the Super Ostrich and different from the VF1D. So that is proof that Bandai really did do a new mold, or quite a few bits of a new mold for this toy. It's not just a head and then otherwise basically a super ostrich. Now, clearly the backpack is a more traditional VF1 backpack too. Now, one of the bummers of this toy was that there's no seated minmay that comes with it. If you do have a super ostrich toy, you can approximate the proper look by putting that minmay in, and at least then you get the kind of the two people in there if you're not going to be holding minmay in the hand. Now this toy also comes with a display stand adapter for gear walk mode. It is very, very simple. It's just this piece right here, and here is the display stand. All you have to do to use the display stand adapter is plug it in on the metal bar and then plug the toy on like so. And then if your feet were fighting you, I mentioned they're very stiff. If you got one of these Tamashii display stands, it will make your life a lot easier. And you can do cool, fun poses like flying with minmay in the hand if you have that display stand. Here is Batroid mode. It looks good. You can stow the gun on the arm if you like. I've got the wings on that work for every mode. And you can see maybe they're a little bit long when viewed from the front, but nothing too bad. We do have the option, of course, to remove them, and to do so you just pull them out. There's little pegs internally that they're attached to. And then we can grab this piece here, which looks like stubbier Batroid mode wings, and we just slide those in and they'll attach to the same point. And there you go. So now we've got the stubby wings on. You can't even see them from the front practically. And that's an option some people want to take advantage of. Now we also have these cavities when we view the toy from above, and that's where those cavity filler pieces come in handy. So here's the one, that's kind of the more traditional one. We just slide it in around the head, a little below the head there. It'll get into that position right there. You can just kind of push down. Now, previous versions of this piece latched into the hatch behind it. This one's gonna sit right on top like so. So there you go. And it's got a painted front to it that kind of matches the chest. So that's cool. Just put that right back in. Batroid mode, a little bit more attractive. We could also obviously replace these hands here with the fixed posed hands to get a much better look as well. And you can see Batroid mode went from being a fine looking Batroid mode to being a pretty good one, just like that. You know, yeah, there's a lot of pieces to keep a hold of, but the end result is pretty nice. Articulation on this toy is also really nice. Now, unlike some other high metal R toys, this one does not have a ball jointed head. So it's only going to go up and down and left and right for you. And it's kind of swiveling on the neck. Now you do have a plate that the head is on that also rocks. So you could get kind of a cocked head look left or right. So there's another little option for you. The shoulder is on a ball joint that pivots. So you can bring it back. It's super stiff on mine, but you can bring it back and forward. Shoulder rocks back and forth. You can bring the arm out at the shoulder. There's that twist point. Obviously the shoulder works on its ball joint. There's the twist point at the bicep. There's the elbow, and it is a double jointed elbow. So you can get really nice tight range of movement there. And you saw that the hands ball joints. Moving down, there is no waist, but the legs have a great range of motion forward and back. They are a ball joint, so you can rock them in and out. And they also have this little sleeve gimmick where you can bring them further out, which lets you get super wide stances, which is always really cool. There's the gear walk joint below that. There's a twist at the knee. Knocked my gun off. There's a twist at the knee and the knee joint itself, which gets you a little bit better than 90 degrees, just about 90 degrees. And then the foot, which is very stiff. There's the front toe, has its own ball joint. So when you get one of those really wide stances, you can also get the toe to look a little bit more flat than it otherwise would, instead of being just out like that. And you can extend the foot a little bit to get a little better range of movement. So you are going to have fun handling this toy, and that is a lot of where the value comes in for the high metal R line. When you get your hands on a display stand using the Batroid mode display stand adapter is really simple. You just kind of slide it up in between the legs, press up with a little bit of pressure, puts a peg on the back, so you're going to need to have a slot on your display stand, and there you go. You just put that in. You can get some awesome floaty looking poses. Adds a lot to the fun value. So again, too bad it was not included as an accessory with the toy, just the adapters. So I do encourage you to get the adapters. I think you'll get a lot more mileage out of your toy. Now, one of the accessories that was included that we haven't touched on yet was the other cavity filler that has the seats. Now, to use this accessory, you're really going to want to bring your head forward as much as possible to create room for the pilot and co-pilot to come out. And then you're just going to push that in like so, press down from above, and there you go. So now we've got the seats coming up from the back. We can bring our backpack up. We can take our Hikaru figure and put him in what would be the pilot seat. Now he doesn't have a peg on this. You're going to be using gravity to your advantage, but it'll look something like that. So there you go. That's a cool little display. Theoretically, he would be falling up against the building or something, and then he comes out. So cool added fun factor there. If you are just now finding these toys, I should warn you that their name is a misnomer. These toys are not packed with metal. In fact, there is very little metal beyond the feet and hinges. At 16 centimeters long in fighter mode, these toys are small, and at 72 grams, they're also very light. In Batroid mode, they stand about 14.3 centimeters, which means they'll scale great with your other high metal R toys, but be dwarfed by your DX or 160 scale stuff. Don't buy these toys because you think they're premium collectibles, as they make a lot of concessions for their size and price. However, if you're looking for a VF1 toy that looks good, is more affordable, and fun to handle, then this fits the bill. Check out anymoon.com for my full article on all of the high metal R VF1 releases. Subscribe, and thanks for watching.